Let's see here. Looks like we're going. What up, traders? What up, investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor, being live. I'm starting just a little bit earlier here to kind of see how things are going. My hair is absolutely crazy today. Going to see what's going to happen. We got the futures opening up. We had a little bit of a somewhat of a sell-off, air quotes, that we saw. The same old stuff. Very much bear. Once we kind of look at the charts, you'll see kind of like that pullback on the daily chart to like the 34 EMA, which is going to be the orange line, and then back down to 55. Let me just go ahead and just kind of pull this up here so you can kind of see. So looking at the futures market, we're up, what's that? 1/3% right now. We're zoomed in here a little bit here on the daily chart. So looking here, I'm going to draw a little line here. Let me zoom back out actually. On the daily chart here, we have hit this orange line here multiple times. We hit it here, 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 here. We kind of shrunk back to the 55 here multiple times. We've almost touched the 55 EMA, which is the white dotted line here, which is the 55 EMA on the daily chart. We've hit that multiple times, okay? I mean, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can it be 8? Question mark, question mark. I don't know. Can it be? Possibility. Again, I can't predict the future. We'll just have to see what happens and what we go forth there. Thank you, Mr. Bear. Thank you, Dave, for joining. Good evening to you, my buddies. Looking here again, what's going to happen to the market? I think most people are speculating that we could see a pullback of some kind. It would be pretty much in the cards if we just kind of go into the SPY, not soy, SPY, coming into that 55 EMA here, which would be around $440. That's going to be kind of that potential marker we could see. That's going to be potentially a stronger resistance than the 34. So if we do see a break of like 44.50 or below, we could see that potentially move lower to that next mark of basically, these are both going to be, I wouldn't say strong or something that has a lot of staying power, but it's definitely going to have something to potentially kind of push the market lower and try to test. Because again, like we just talked about this, we have touched this line not nearly 8 times already. We've touched it 7 times and have rebounded. So the path of least resistance basically means initially these are going to be some fairly strong support. So we'll see on how those potentially play out in the market and how things unwind or how they go forth. It could be, again, I'm not going to act like we know what's going to happen in the market or so forth, but it's going to be definitely interesting on any front on that, especially in the SPY. Looking here at the QQQ, take a sippy. This one is not as neat as a pattern here. This thing has definitely seen a little bit more larger swings, and I kind of want to move this out to like the weekly chart. We really haven't seen from the spring high to low here. This was nearly a decrease of 14% of last October, and we've at most we saw a little bit of that April pullback that we saw at the beginning of the year to like maybe a 7 to 8%. Okay, and that was pretty insane in the membrane for a lot of people that remember that. The beginning of the year, that little pullback that was this one right here was about like, I think it was less than 10%, right? It was like 8. It was 12%. Sorry, my bad. So we haven't seen that 12%. We did have seen it's not a sell-off, of course. It's a very steep correction because the way things are currently structured in the market, and especially with this massive pullback that we saw, of course, in 2020, that is something that we're seeing. It's something kind of new in the market, honestly. It's just there's so much computers and AI driven algorithms that really can drive prices lower or higher really fast. Like I think it's more popular and more probably current to see more flash crashes, or not a flash crash, but more of a substantial steeper downward move, but then a pretty fast rebound because the market takes whatever into consideration, takes a couple days, maybe a week or two to kind of flush things out, then bounces back and then kind of reconsiders things, and then like, oh wait, we actually forgot to carry the 3, and then it does have another little quick pullback, and then it goes back into normal from that standpoint. So this would be kind of something that we could potentially see in the market. Seeing the NASDAQ actually breaking below the 8 EMA on the daily chart, nothing out of the ordinary. This is definitely something that we could easily see touch the 34 EMA like we've seen multiple times. This is a little bit more standard criteria of chop chop, which Bear and I always love to talk about, of chop chop, which is basically just sideways kangaroo action here, and seeing that kind of come through. So what levels would be in the QQQ? Would be around the at or below around 371 to 370. And then to the little bit 55 EMA would be around 365 would be the levels that we potentially could see if the market does have some kind of a potential pullback. And that's not much of a pullback at all. Like that could be just a very slight correction, and that would kind of put it in that 5.5 to nearly 5% range, which is kind of very common to kind of see. But then you have some hardcore folks who are just saying like, we're going to really just kind of tear lower and just really sell off pretty substantially because of the seasonality of September and October. And those are the things that it's going to be harder to project out and kind of potentially play on those levels. You just kind of have to wait and see on how things go, because again, we don't know the future. We don't know what's going to happen. We just have to kind of let the market gods kind of drive the way there in that front. So that's going to be something that I'm looking at. I'm looking here at the old Bitcoin. We hit that 52,000 like we talked about. We did talk about that that being that first wall of resistance, and it went up there and it got denied. It did not break past or get above for any kind of staying power for a while above that 52,365 level. That kind of is a little bit, I wouldn't say concerning, because Bitcoin's fairly volatile. So I'm looking at the chart here. Let me get this X out of the way. Kind of it's blowing me up, messing me up here. So we're gonna go with a nice blue. So the blue you're looking at here. So if Bitcoin kind of comes back a little bit, again, it's up nearly a little over 2.5% here, almost 2.5%. That is something that we could easily see potentially recover from this point. For Bitcoin, if it comes down to like the 45-ish level, $43,000 level, which is like this really little tight, narrow area here that I'm kind of drawing here, and just kind of highlighting this, that is something that we could potentially see and maybe kind of create a springboard or a trampoline higher to potentially test this level once again. And maybe we get rejected, maybe we break through it. I don't know. I guess if you're a bull in the Bitcoin market, you definitely want that to go higher, of course. But then that front, we could have some pretty nice stable support here coming around 42 to that $45,000 range there. So that's something also very interesting to watch that I have been watching. We did talk about it. Did buy a little bit on this pullback to the 34 EMA. Just kind of a little bit of day trading there, just because Bitcoin, and especially the cryptos, I know Bear and has talked about this quite a bit as well in the Discord on how easy it's traded with like the technical analysis frame, honestly. Chris says, buy PLTR now or wait until market crash. That's kind of a loaded question, my friend. Honestly, I don't know when a market crash is happening, so it's always good to kind of have like a plan. So when you're willing to buy, when you're willing to sell, what's your first target, what's your second target, all this kind of stuff, and what it kind of comes down to your time horizon, honestly, Chris. As of right now, looking at the technical standpoint of PLTR, we have kind of hit this wall up here multiple times, which is around this 27 ish range that we've kind of been rejected multiple times. We got really ixed here. We're trying to kind of break through back it a little bit more here. We can kind of see this kind of building back up, maybe getting the momentum to drive this higher. Would love to see a little bit more volume kind of come through to kind of help those bulls push PLTR higher there. That level we would want to see PLTR break is definitely this $27.73. That's a previous level from the 45 high down to the previous low of like a little bit below around 1750 or whatever it was. And then now it's kind of been this white box has kind of been in the penalty box, kind of just bouncing around, kind of building momentum and potentially seeing that run higher with PLTR there, Chris. Kelly D, what's up, my friend? Howdy, howdy, howdy. And guys, if you haven't already, I would greatly appreciate a like on the video. Looks like any thoughts on Nndm? So yeah, Nndm is just kind of just meandering lower here. This is something not the biggest cup of fun factor here. We've seen it kind of this again, that the white dotted line is the 55 EMA, which is kind of what I look at mostly on the between that and the 34, depending on what the momentum is on the stock here. It has not really gotten above the 55. It's gotten above here once here again, and then kind of trying to here a little bit. But each time it kind of tests it, it just kind of gets nixed and gets failed. I'm glad that it's trying to break and try to get up above that to kind of see it kind of potentially trying to move higher here. But there isn't really too much going on here, unless there is like a fundamental story, anything about their P on it trying to break out or move higher, or some kind of news that could be coming around the corner, or some great investment or whatsoever. That could be a nice little move higher here, but it's nothing that's on my radar, to be quite honest. So if we do a very quick fib, I don't know why it got moved. Let's see here. It has some pretty good standard support here from that previous high of $17.89 all the way to $1.38 of basically last year. This time we're seeing some support come in here and here. So around that $5.28 could be some short-term support. We'll maybe see that test again and maybe get a kick higher. I don't know, but it's looking, it's not the most attractive investment in my view right now. Roland one asking for Lovesack. What's I know Lovesack. What's this ticker? Love. Is it? Where it Lovesack? Okay, just love. Okay. Whoa, nicey nice. Definitely. You see, I had an alert here to buy at 34. Clearly never got hit. This is a beautiful looking chart that's kind of making, it had earnings. Okay, so it had earnings. We're looking at the very basic fib tree here. Look at that. Hit the 38.2 percentile move there. So we did see it rebound here once, rebound twice, and then bada bing, bada bang, took off on earnings, hitting that next level on the Fibonacci tree at $67.67 and kind of just made a pretty abrupt stop there. Doesn't mean that it's kind of sell off and move lower there, but this is definitely something to look out for. Like that previous has been downside support, so this is something that it could potentially break through. So there's a lot of volume coming into this. I think this thing could potentially break through this level for sure, and maybe make its way back up to 80. Let me look here on the larger time frame around the weekly. Let's see here if there's anything. Yeah, this looks pretty exciting on the weekly side, because looking at the weekly side, we have multiple rebounds on the right here and right here around the 34 and 55 EMA. We're coming into again that fib support here at $50.48, kind of bouncing and ricocheting higher, and kind of seeing this move substantially on that potentially really good earnings announcements. So good for them. Kelly's asking about Sofi. I know, Sofi. What are we going to do with you? Sofi, it's just kind of meandering, just like Nndm, honestly. It's just kind of just chilling. We see that multiple levels kind of holding here, not seeing just kind of sideways action. We basically have some pretty substantial support around $14.39 there, Kelly. So we have that support here, here, and here. It's not the most prettiest looking chart, to be quite honest. There's not a really nice momentum pattern building up here on my view, but this is definitely something that I like long term. So I'm just owning the shares. I do have some longer dated calls. I think I was waiting for 2023s to come out. I think I have that already. No, yeah, I do have these. Okay, so I think I bought like the $20 calls all the way out, but like maybe 2 or 3 of those as of right now. But this is again a longer term position. I think that they have some really great CEO. First of all, was his oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Anthony, what is his name? Anthony something. Is it Anthony? Does it say on here? No, it doesn't say on here. Is it Noda or something like that? Noda? But anyways, I think in long term it's going to be doing just fine. Short term, very choppy, and that 1439 is definitely a level that I'm watching to potentially add. If it has a huge red candle and just kind of breaks right through it, that might be more difficult to buy it. I want to kind of see it level off from that point, but you can kind of see on the way up here, Kelly, it's not been breaking above this 55 EMA here. Again, it was that white line. It's just been bouncing against that and just kind of trending lower here. David J, what's up? My friend says, hey, Ken, what are you thinking about Nike? Yeah, Nike, this thing just keeps on just performing like at a really insane level. I'm really lost for words, honestly, with Nike a lot of the time. So with Nike, I'm not, well, it's funny that I'm wearing Nike right now, but this is just something I've got to support the Team USA and the Olympics. This is something that I have been looking at for quite some time. I was looking to get into previously before this earnings, but then, of course, I missed the train here. In the short term, I think that this potentially could hold up some kind of level of support here around the 160-ish level here. That's going to be that 55 EMA on the daily chart here. But we are coming on the horizons of earnings again, so that's going to be something to look out for, which again, earnings is very much a coin flip. Your technical analysis does not give a rat's ass about once it goes into earnings. It basically goes into a black hole, and you have no idea what's really going on behind those closed doors. On the weekly chart, I actually really like to see this potentially even come back lower. I hate to say it, to 150, or maybe see some level of support of the 34 kind of slowly make its way back up here. Yeah, I really do like Nike. I'm not sure on what perspective you're looking at on the daily or the weekly side, but this is just something that I think Nike's a really strong brand, to be quite honest with you, even though it has done a little bit of mischief over the years. Gaines is asking for Apple. What do you say? What's up with Apple? Yeah, Apple's in a weird place as well. Had a pretty large sell-off, which was quite weird, to be quite honestly, that towards the end of the day here, and it really sums it up once we go into this time frame here. Like, it sold off really hard in this, well, the whole market around lunchtime just kind of collapsed. And what you have to understand, usually between that 11 to so I'm talking about Eastern Standard Time right now, between the 11 or so between 10:45 and 11, that's when the European market closes. Okay, so that's going to be a lot of price action going on there between that 10:30 to like 11ish time frame, and that just kind of could be some follow through that kind of came through there, some potential large orders. I don't know what really happened there. That is something quite strange, having a 3.5% drop nearly in their stock there. So it's very out of the ordinary. Again, Apple's not a small like speculative biotech company. This is Apple, the largest company in the world with like $2 trillion market cap. A little bit weird, but look where it stopped at, right? I can't make this shit up. It stopped right at the 34 EMA here, basically at 148, 149 to be a little bit more rounding up there. If it continues to break here, we're going to be looking for that 30 or the 55 EMA, which is around 145 to 146 to potentially be the next level of support here. But this is a pretty steep knife here. So if that does want to continue to cut here, we could see maybe a pullback to that this alert here that we have here around 143, I think, or 142. Ah, they lost the Epic Games, Kev. Oh, yes, that is true. I did read about that. So they did, okay, that makes sense. How much they have to pay out for that? I remember, okay, something clearly happened. Apple got sued and lost. Honestly, that's quite amazing, because if an Apple loses, Apple doesn't lose many fights. So that's actually good to know. So it's going to take a couple days, honestly, to kind of let that news kind of settle in. And then the market will be going back into normal mode. So definitely that 34 to 55 EMA is going to be something that I potentially could be looking for support. But if the overall market does pull back, it could easily potentially break through those levels there. And thank you, was it John and Kev T letting me know about that? Let's see here. Apple got sued and lost. I love it. What is your take on the implied short seeing of their foot of the stocks float? What is your take on the implied shorts seem to be keep their foot on stocks throat? Are you talking about like the GME stuff there, Dan? John says they definitely took a bite out of Apple. They basically really helped a lot of, honestly, smaller developers and smaller businesses really kick it to the man, to be quite honestly. Take a look at Google as well. Yeah, I definitely can see that. But isn't Google a little bit more open in their app store? I'm not too familiar with this, honestly. IMPL, Dan's asking. Oh, it's a stock. Yeah, nothing on that one. This is, honestly, Dan, this is not really up my cup of tea or cup of coffee, or even my scrambled eggs here. But this is insane amount of movement higher and then comes back lower. Insane parabolic moves higher and then marks lower here. What is this? Is this a pharmaceutical company? Yeah, it's a pharmaceutical company. These are not usually my favorite kind of cups of teas. You can clearly potentially maybe make some kind of story or narrative that it's coming in back into the 55 EMA range, or maybe the 144, kind of just bouncing here. Maybe we can see that play out here as well. Maybe just kind of trade sideways around $16 to $15, $14, and maybe just kind of going from there. But there's not too much other I can really talk about that, Dan. What are your thoughts on the Starbucks chart? Starbucks is actually on my radar. Just because there was where was it? I wrote this down. On Starbucks, there was a $2.5 million calls being bought on 6/17/2022. That's weird. This was the $115 calls. So someone was buying a boatload of these calls here, and that was like 2 or 3 days ago. So I just have kind of been tracking on what the activity is going on in that range there. So something to look at. At the same time, looking here at the daily chart, I like it more on the weekly chart, potentially kind of just continuously growing and making its way higher here. It's not like my favorite kind of growth stock at all, but it's a nice little easy potentially trading kind of stock as well. So we do see a pullback. We're looking for some pretty strong support coming in around 111 to 110. That could easily potentially happen. But that being said, we can maybe even see it break that price target at 122 again, and maybe make its way up to 127 if we can kind of see that momentum change. We are seeing a little bit of a drop in volume as well. Would like to see that pick up. That's definitely going to help the narrative of the story on the long side for sure. Eddie C is asking for big and yeah, we're looking at some short squeezes. Sure, I don't mind talking about those. So BBIG is definitely a short squeeze if you have ever seen it. I wanted to buy this over here, but I never got into it because I don't have the cojones. This thing again can easily continue to grind here. Okay, so we're just gonna do a super basic fib here. Again, this is not going to be the most intense kind of stuff. So the first level support we're going to be talking about is that basically $10. The next level support is going to be around $8.14. And then this is not really a potential fib number, but that does kind of show some rebound signals around $6.80. And then again, around $5.46. Again, that doesn't mean it's going to have to break there. But if it does break above that $12.50, the next level potentially can touch would be around that $15.56 there, Joe. And then, so that was Eddie. And then support. This one is a little bit more different playing out. This is kind of pulling back more than just we looked at big. This is starting to see the 8 EMA trade sideways. And if you looked at B big, you're seeing the 8 EMA continuously kind of curling higher here. So this kind of momentum's kind of potentially building here. We are seeing the middle finger of death, which I call it, which is of course, the middle finger is here, and you have the knuckle here, and the knuckle here all pointing down. Basically, giving you the middle finger saying, F you, we're going lower or higher. That could be a very potential turning point in the stock here. But again, it's a short squeeze. It's really heavily like, I don't know what's going to happen kind of scenario. So just be really wearable about that. If it does pull back, that next level support is going to be coming in basically around its low around $17.45 in the short term, and then around that $15.50 to $15 at that level there. Do you see a familiar uranium play in the yellow cake is pretty hot right now? TD917SR. What uranium? There's a stock that I played uranium in. I forget the name of it. It's not CCJ, is it? In the past, how long were the market pullbacks on average? The market pullbacks to what extent there? You're talking about on the daily chart? So if we're just talking about just these little pullbacks that we've had towards the beginning of the stream that we talked about, these very short, like nothing to really talk about pullbacks, we can see those kind of pull back here a little bit, but nothing too out of the ordinary. And these pullbacks lasted 5 or 4%, and they lasted for like 3 or 4 days, and then they kind of recovered. We're kind of potentially, if we want to play out the scenario that we had here, this is thinking, yeah, CCJ, TD, yeah, I've traded that a lot. So SPY could easily break to that 444, 445 and below. Potentially not closing below. If it starts closing below 140 or the 55 EMA, which we have not seen in a while, that's something that could be kind of a little bit scary in that sense, and just kind of like putting people back into check, seeing those levels there. But as of right now, we're still in a normal potential pullback zone. Yeah, CCJ is definitely something that we've seen a lot of action on, and this is one that we're looking to potentially hit that $26.45. Honestly, TD, this is one that I really kind of messed up on myself. I did sell out majority, like 99%, 95% of my position, and let a little bit run. And this is just something that just really kind of took off here. We did talk about this potential level here, around $15.59 being some level of support here, but I never pulled the trigger. I should have pulled the trigger when I saw it break here at $18.89 and shooting it higher, but this is just a huge pop here that you see in this stock here. Again, looking for that potential very aggressive move higher here. Again, that's a very aggressive momentum move, and I want to call it a parabolic move. It is pretty substantial, going from basically $18.39. Excuse me. And then a week later, being up at 25 for a kind of a company like this, but it's like a smaller to lower mid cap, so it could do these kind of moves and not be too cray. I do want to update this fib now, though. I'm going to go here, this previous move. Here, yeah. So the next large target we're going to be looking at is $25.44 to be precise. If it can break higher, we're looking for $30 plus. That's going to be a pretty aggressive target, but not saying it can't happen, right? Eddie, okay, thank you very much. My cost on BG is about $9. Are you looking to play more safely in the coming weeks to prep for possible? Yes, Eddie, that's my opinion. I do share my opinions at times in the Discord. You're more than welcome to join that. A lot of folks, we do talk on a daily basis in the live trading market room. There's a lot of folks that give their opinions, and again, they're all welcome and so forth on the markets and so forth on what the potentially could pull back. Because honestly, Eddie, I'm just pulling from historical averages on September's and October's being a potential more volatile markets. Alan's asking, how do you measure a stock's valuation, i.e. if the stock is cheap or expensive? I really don't look at that honestly on my technical side there, Vincent. I do use RSI at times, but I change the RSI reading on the bottom one here. So what I do, let's say we'll just do Tesla, because that's a pretty good example that a lot of people give that as a high evaluation for whatever that means. I change my RSI from 20 to that's going to be the overbought, and the 80 is overbought and the 20 is oversold. Because it's generically on Thinkorswim, it does 70-30. But if you just add 10 points or minus 10 points on one side and add 10 points on the other, so just basically nixing that out, you get a little bit of a level of potential catching a top or bottom. It's not always right, to be quite honest with you. There's nothing ever always right. Between that, using this one right here is a good looking view here on the weekly side that Tesla was basically overbought on the 20th. Okay, so the beginning of 2020, before the crash, Tesla was heavily overbought, okay? And then it had a large pullback because, again, the pandemic. And the Tesla really never came overbought again until the summer of that month, summer of that year, okay? And then it kind of pulled back a little bit. Then that red line creeped in again, had a little bit of pullback. Same times kind of here, and then of course that huge run that it had going to the S&P 500, and then kind of that pullback there. So this is something that I kind of use. I kind of use the MACD as well. The MACD is not the world's greatest level on that, but this more or less kind of looking at trends. I look more at trends than I'm looking at valuations, if that makes any sense there, Vincent. And you're welcome, TD. I invested in Canopy Growth. I bought 100 shares and I've lost 40% of it. I'm betting on selling or waiting for increase. Or selling your take. Worst stock I have. CGC. Let me look at this. The Canopy, I don't know much about marijuana or any of this kind of stuff. I just don't. It was just super hyped up, right? It had a crazy move because of the Biden administration, right? It was crazy October into 2020, but then from it kind of just fell apart. Honestly, how low can it go? I don't know how low can it go. If we're looking here strictly on the weekly side right now, it's not looking pretty. And same on the daily chart. It's not seeing much room at all. It's just kind of failing here multiple times on the 55 EMA, 34 EMA, you have the 8 EMA, you have the 34 EMA, and the 55. Now the 144 EMA continuously kind of driving it lower. That doesn't mean some news can come out or something can change in some policy and then this thing just shoots higher. I don't know what is the best chance of this stock going higher. I don't know if this is probably a stock that's in Canada, right? Like this is a grower in Canada. So looking at that, what was there was an ETF for marijuana and I forgot it. And then there's another stock, John, if you look at it, someone just pinged it to me the other day. It's a stock that does the warehousing for people that grow cannabis or grow the plants. Or they rent the space out or something like that. And that was doing very well. Like, I'm trying to think if there's another stock. What's that penny stock that everyone was talking about last year that went to like $4? My brain's really just drawing a blanks here. You would think too, John, I do agree it should have increased, but I think it's potentially at an interesting point on the longer term side. I know this looks insane that this stock was $60 way back when in 18, but it just really kind of sums up. Not Tilray. Tilray is one of them. It's that penny stock. It's like oh my gosh, I can't think of it. But it's the one that I was looking at. It was like it's basically a REIT of like warehousing for marijuana. PHP. No, it's not that one. What is the? Oh my gosh, I probably have it labeled in here. No, it doesn't say the last ones. What is that? It's called like Sun something. Sun. Oh, shoot! I can't. That's gonna kill me now. I can't think of it. What is it called? Let me just look up this here. Hold on, I want to find it. I cannot think of it right now. This is crazy. He had a crazy short squeeze. All right, let's see here. If I see the ticker, I will know instantly what it was. Maybe it starts with an S. I can't remember now. Yeah, if I think of it, I'll have to recall it. I think it's a pot stock though. Maybe I don't know. Anyways, but this is really just kind of shows you on the crazy ride that you can have. But that being said, honestly, John, with this in its DNA, honestly, I think it can come back. I really do believe that. I think this can come back if you have the patience potentially. It does have some support here around that 1350 to 1375 level and potentially come back. Like, I don't know if you want to put this money elsewhere or whatever. But I think that this potentially could make a pretty steep recovery if it does kind of find a bottom. But I just don't know when that's going to happen. It's not Tilray. The Tilray was a crazy short squeeze that we saw many years ago. I remember trading the $300 level. It's something else. I can't think of it. I cannot think of it. These are both just getting completely knocked. Sundad! Is that Sun? There you go. What is the ticker on that one? There, John wins chicken dinner. Yes, that's it. That's it. Thank you. That's what I was talking about. This penny stock, same kind of thing. This is a marijuana stock right here. Is a cannabis company engaged in product? Okay, yeah. So I wasn't going crazy. I knew it started with an S. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Mission accomplished. Everyone go home now. Sorry, Joe, I'm going back to the stuff here. Joe's asking for FDX. That is FedEx, right? FDX Fedex. So FedEx, UPS, their large times are coming back up, which means more packages in the mail, more money in their pockets. That's, again, that holiday season. So I always like to play this one potentially as a move here. As you can see, FedEx has not been the largest kind of percentile move there. But again, this huge move that we saw last year is something that it's going to be so hard to replicate, honestly, on seeing this crazy kind of moves that we have seen in the market. I'm a little bit more hesitant about it. And it's kind of breaking past the 55 EMA on the weekly side. So that's not always the greatest move there as well. On the daily chart here, you're seeing that momentum continuously kind of carrying it lower here. That's also not a good sign that we want to see that momentum heading that way. It is running into earnings. So earnings could be that trampoline moment where it could bounce higher and maybe get back up to 170 to 178, 180 plus. Or sorry, 270 to 280 plus. But I am not going to be holding my breath too much on that because earnings season is starting to come back into play. So earnings season really doesn't start until you start seeing Bank of America. When I start seeing Bank of America coming out, it's not going to be the first week of October, basically, is when earnings seasons really officially starts, and you start seeing those large movers kind of going through. And I'm trying to think of the, oh my gosh. Yeah. So IYT is what I look at for potentially looking at what the market could be doing. So this is going to be the IYT is basically the iShares US Transportation ETF. Normally, this thing, if it tops out or if it starts breaking lower, usually in the next week or a couple days, the market kind of follows. You can kind of see here I have a price alert. If it breaks below 246.94, that could be some kind of trigger of a potential short-term bounce or a breakthrough of continuously selling kind of coming through. So that's going to be something to be very well aware about. So not just kind of making this like Horgus Schmorgus stuff coming through here. The last time this happened was at 6/2 of this year. So if we go to SPY and we go to 6/2, we saw some chop coming in, and then a little over a week later we had a pullback, right? So is it a quinkadink, whatever, but I think it is somewhat related to some extent because transportation is a very large industry within the United States. It's basically taken from supplies and goods from one area to another. It's a very good telling read on the economy inside the U.S. market, right? So that was IYT. Want to look at this a little bit more extensive on like the weekly side. So IYT, same kind of pattern. Again, we talked about that lower part of the early of 2021. It bottomed on the like February and then made a crazy new high. If we go to SPY and we go to February, it made a pullback. Literally, this is not the world's best example. Pull back a couple weeks later, and then they made a break a new high from there. So it's kind of a lagging indicator potentially. Whatever, take it with a grain of salt and do your own thing. But I always kind of look at that. What did I just click on? Oh, Facebook. Look at this chart. Keeps on going up. Etsy. A lot of people talked about this one. this never broke past my level here, so I need to move that kind of up here a little bit. Nice little level there. Disney is something that I continuously like and love. This is something, the Evil Corporation, coming into around 175 potentially for short-term support. Looking to kind of see maybe kind of failing here at that visible wall here around 187 to 190, and kind of coming back down here to around that 176 to 175 range, potentially within the old Disney there. Another thing that I like to look at, of course, I love my Costco. This thing is just completely gone gangbusters and just continues to climb here. No signs of selling it at all or trimming my cost or anything like that. But I said I can't really add to it as well. So if it starts breaking below, it really broke my target here at that level here. The next target is really at this 519, which is honestly not fair, to be quite honest. So showing you some downward support on this one is basically, yeah, around the 55 EMA, what I would be looking for. Dan, you're right. That's what it was. IIPR. That is that a real estate play for cannabis, right? And it did kind of come off here a little bit. Okay, I didn't see that. It was a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of days ago, when someone pinged it to me. I was like, wow, this is making an all-time high, but canopy, other stocks haven't been doing too well as well there. So this is, again, an investment. It's a REIT company that's focused on acquisition ownership of maritime and state licensed operators, regulated state operates cannabis facilities. Yeah. So basically, it's a REIT that pays a nice dividend, not monthly, I believe it's quarterly, right? Yeah, on that. So that is the one I was looking at, Dan. Because again, this is really the complete opposite of what you see in a lot of the canopy stocks. But this is coming down to some first level support here around 230 and maybe at that 223 to 225 range to potentially kind of find some kind of flooring there at those levels. But yeah, spicy meatball for sure. That canopy stuff is no joke to trade. Intel, still dead to me. Lowe's and Home Depot all looking pretty interesting as well. You got Lowe's here kind of making a very substantial move on earnings, really just raking in the money here. Again, Lowe's, Home Depot's, this is their time of year where they make quite a bit of money into the holiday season. But I think if I remember correctly, I listened to the earnings call a couple times for Home Depot, and gardening season is number one, and for like these home improvement stores, garden season. But again, more and more people are doing themselves. But then I was also reading a report that was kind of nixing that, of people are like more willing to have professionals do the work now, since they were able to save money during the pandemic and something like that. So like, I don't want to set those shelves up in the garage. I'll have someone build them for me and then put them in there myself. I don't want to put a hole in the wall and not connect it to the studs or whatever reason. It kind of falls and breaks apart. So that's something that's interesting to see. Dan says, I bought 500 shares at $79 last year. Booyah. Nice. Good job, Dan. I'm proud of you. That is a nice looking chart. Yep. That's a crazy looking chart. Russell, what's up, my friend? Is it IWM? My glasses are fogging up here. IWM is still in this penalty box. So what we mean by the penalty box here, we're just seeing this, it reaches the top and just never has the momentum kind of to break out. Just kind of like, just goes like, denied, denied, denied. This is basically where it just cannot break out. You're seeing the same thing on the bottom part of this part, okay? Just kind of just trending sideways, just not giving a rat's you know what, and just kind of holding its pattern here and waiting for a breakout. Of course, it did kind of pull back like the rest of the market did last week or last Friday, but we're coming into some support here around $221, If that does break, we're really going to be looking for 217 to 210 to potentially be kind of some kind of support on the way down. Of course, again, we're talking about that flip side. If we do see a reversal coming in, we're looking for 230 around that frame to potentially kind of get stopped out again. Maybe it could be the 5th time, could be a chance of breaking out. Who knows? But this is definitely one to watch at these 2 levels here to kind of see on how one plays out. So this is something to play maybe like Iron Condor or Straddle or Strangle. No, Straddle is the one where you want to see the calls. No, like a Strangle, some kind of hold this pattern at this range here. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. Okay. Wanted to pull, let's see here. People always ask what I like to look at. Oops. Oracle. I know. Not a big fan of Oracle as well, but this is interesting here. This little box here. Continuously trading sideways, looking for that break above 91.78 to kind of see maybe that run to 95. This is just going to be a trade for me, and seeing how that plays out. Russell's asking for NIO. NIO, yes. NIO, that's a all right. So looking at this one with complete clarity here on this the shorter term side, we are initially looking for some support if it can hold at these levels here around $35.94 is a level of short-term support that has held that 35-ish range a couple times this towards the spring of this year. But if there's a more market volatility coming in and kind of trading it lower here, that could break lower here and potentially run to $30 to $28.61 on those price moves. To the upside, we really need to see it break and stay above $41 in the short term. We saw it break, of course, above that quite a bit here during the summer here. But ever since some of the stuff that we've seen coming out of China on their hesitation on investments and all this kind of stuff, and I think they correct me if I'm wrong, Russell. I remember reading something about NIO. They were selling some shares to raise capital. Was it $2 billion or was it $1 billion? I can't remember what it was, but it was quite substantial. And I don't know if it was this week or last week. It just seems like everything's kind of been blending together on that front. But NIO, really want to see this back above $41, potentially even run to $47 if we get some more positive news coming out of that front of the east or the far west. Anyone else got any tickers they want to look at? I'm just going to do a couple more minutes and then I'm going to hit the sack, take a shower, and get ready for work tomorrow. And the fun day in the market for sure. Because as of right now, we're still seeing the market. It did kind of pull back a little bit. So kind of looking at here, we're looking at the futures right now. So this is going to be something, again, what we talked about, potentially coming back to that 4,400 level, which can be the first level of potential short-term kind of support coming in there. But again, anything can happen. You know this, right? Maybe we just get a bounce here and continue going higher. I don't know. I have to be ready to play any kind of scenario. Jerry Sanders is asking for ADSK. Is that Autodesk? Yeah, I like Autodesk. I don't know what happened here, Jerry. I don't follow the news too much. This is something. Yeah, what happened here? Like, what is this? It's on earnings. It gapped lower, and then it just continued to go lower, which I'm not a large fan of. It is kind of coming into some level, some potentially support here around that 185, 184 range. But if that breaks, they can easily go back to that level here around 175 or sort of 275 range. That's something that we could see here. Potentially happening in the market with this kind of selling pressure kind of coming through here. Because yeah, that news doesn't look too great there. You do see I have a target here around 267 potentially to sell some premium on. I've meant just by selling puts on it. But this is definitely something that has caught my attention. But I'm just a little bit concerned about these very aggressive falling from grace here, to be quite honest with you. With high unemployment rates that continues out Tuesday this week, the Fed stopped buying ETFs and rental mortgages monetarily, ending in the hindsight rates goes up. Will there be a pullback? Vincent, who knows? I think Jerome Powell is trying to make a pretty good job on, I want to say educating the investors or the market, but more or less just more and more they talk about it. I guess there's going to be there's less of surprise. In theory, Vincent, who knows? The books and logic tells you if interest rates go higher and the Fed stop buying, going make their printer go brr, that could easily potentially create a pullback of some kind. They're talking about tapering first, which again is going to be stopping of the higher of printing money, air quotes, of the Fed to kind of put into the market. I haven't heard anything too much about stimulus checks again this year around or whatever. So those unemployment has been cut back as well, right? Unemployment insurance, unemployment pay has cut back due to the fact of the stuff reopening in some cases for some folks, depending where you live. But this definitely could cause a lot of things to go right or wrong, Vincent. I just don't know when that's going to happen, right? The market doesn't really tell you. The tea leaves don't tell you when that could happen. The rates increasing, they're projecting out and talking about Jerome Powell potentially raising rates in 2023. So we're quite a ways still off from that. We just kind of have to start dealing with the unemployment numbers and a lot of the other stuff regarding around like the Fed buying rate or giving out money. Roland 1 is asking for LRXC. I love that one as well. Something that I'm looking to buy. I'm not currently in it. I'm looking to kind of potentially get into this around $555, or let's say $560 to be more on the friendly side. On this kind of pullback here, I think this thing looks really good here, especially on the weekly chart. I like this play, this momentum here. But if we do see a break below this pretty aggressively, I'm looking for some support around 534, but then everything after that, I have to kind of reconsider at those levels. Jeff is asking for Hey Hippo. Oh, Hey PO. Yeah, that's a tough one there. This looks like it was a SPAC, right? Maybe was this a SPAC? Hippo Holdings. Yeah, I don't know about this one. This looks insane. Insane. Coming back here, maybe kind of making a dead cat bounce, and then kind of it fell really hard on Friday. This is not my favorite cup of tea. Sorry, Jeff. FL has been watching for a while. Weekly says monthly charts looking like potential blood. Who knows? It could, yeah, again, Brian, we could see anything, right? Sanders is looking for cat, not dog. Caterpillar, of course, this is going to be pretty much tied to the infrastructure bill and, of course, just the overall economy. We did talk about IYT, which is the transportation industry, which basically be giving us some kind of look at this. This thing has hit that all-time high up here. Again, late summer, pull back here, been trading pretty aggressively here around below the 215, 212 level, and actually getting down to like the 205s and potentially even 200 at multiple times. If we do see an aggressive break below 200, we can easily see it reach to 190 to 185. And same thing to the upside around if it starts breaking above that 220 level and gets any kind of momentum, we're looking for some higher prices coming in there. And then that's Fiverr. This is one that I don't know how this one survived, but God bless them. This is something that I was looking to short during the pandemic, and yeah, sadly I didn't, because that would have ripped my head off. Coming into 5 below here, had a huge squeeze, popped up higher. We talked about that level around 243, never really reached it. Coming back down aggressively here, finding maybe some kind of footing here on the weekly side. Zooming into the daily side, this is something that we potentially can find some level of support here around 180 to 178, and potentially seeing it play here. It looks like this was mostly on earnings, gap down here. So this is something that needs a couple days or a week and a half or so to kind of level off here. Would like to start seeing this kind of trade sideways in that range for a little bit before anything goes cray-cray. Kev T, A firm. Kev, were you in the Discord when we were talking about this? Oh, this one was nasty. So I saw someone buy, it was like $3 million. So I have to make a video on this one for sure. Someone bought $3 million of the options that was expiring this week. The 110 or 115. They were buying it for like $2, and now it got up to like a crazy amount, like insane. Anyways, they were making like 6 or 7, I think it was like 10 times their money at one point in a week. So they literally turned like potentially $3 million into $30 million in a week. So pretty insane. A firm, completely short squeeze, parabolic move here, trying to reconfigure and figure out their price targets, looking for that 125 target to potentially kind of hold here initially. If it gets that continuous momentum and continues to push, I think we could easily see it potentially run up to 140 to 146. But that's going to take a lot of momentum because, again, a day like the other day going up 35% nearly is insane. That's a lot of movement. At the same time, some level of support here is around 110 to the downside. But again, with these very large parabolic moves, you got to be kind of careful here because, again, the rug can be pulled out pretty fast. Russell's asking for BBBY. Yeah, I thought this was going to take off a little bit more as well. It's kind of failing for me as well. It is coming to some level of support here around $25 here. Not the world's strongest pattern here, just kind of this meandering around and just kind of waiting for this news. Sadly, this meme stock that people always talk about kind of blew its kind of load here, lack of better words. I don't know why I meant to say that. But basically, just the short squeezes have just really kind of torn up the chart here, and hasn't really been able to kind of make a healthy recovery, and it's just been really taken over by these very short-term kind of trade metrics than any kind of longer dated trades that I like to see. You're very welcome, Vincent. Joe is asking for HBI. Huh. Hanes Brandt. Everyone's gonna need to buy underwear, right? Nice little move on earnings. Coming up to that previously $20-ish level here, failing here. Coming back down to support around 18. Maybe getting that next momentum to break up back to maybe that 20 and kind of breaking out at that level here. So that's going to be something to look at there. Downside level of support initially is going to be around $18.50 in the short term, and some stronger support coming around $18 to $17.50 there. Wesley, what's up, my friend? How you doing, my buddy? Thank you so much for your ongoing support, my friend. I hope all is well. Johnny, what's up, my dude? Hey, Ken, thoughts on Lowe? Oh, so this is one that I traded initially, which we saw this short squeeze potentially kind of building up. It's not a short squeeze, more like this momentum. And once I saw it break below $9, I knew it potentially could break 10 on this kind of momentum. Once the 8 kind of crosses over the 34, it's just a very quick trade, honestly, for me, Johnny. I know you've been talking about this one for quite some time, and it's kind of meandering here. This is really just kind of just the leftover massacre that we just saw with this large green candle here, and all the people who were buying in around that 10.50 plus or even $10 plus, and that now they're seeing and they just want to get out, and that kind of just creates this huge large trigger of just sell 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 kind of metrics there. So that's something to be aware about on that front, which is again going down to that level of support here around potentially $8. Do you have anything else, Johnny, you want to talk about on stock wise? That was kind of an open question. Anything else you want to talk about in life, Johnny? UPS. Yeah, this looks a little bit better than FedEx, honestly, Jerry. So this is going to be something to look out as well. We did talk about that 144 EMA being some level of support here. UPS is finding that level of support here and here. Of course, those earnings was absolutely insane. The membrane kind of making these crazy market moves there. On the same front, want to look this at a weekly chart here. You can kind of see this crazy pattern that it does have, where it has like these huge market moves higher, trade sideways, huge market moves higher, and this potentially trades sideways, but it kind of pulls back. Just remember, this is a very outlandish time frame here. So this was the whole year of 2020, if I can write right. So that's going to be something that's going to be probably not repeated unless that happens again to us. That is something to be to look out for with UPS especially. But I do like the chart. It's finding some level support around 190. Just note the volume as that recent spike on Clove. Let me go to this chart. So this is the chart that I like to look at, this one, Johnny, on these like kind of squeezes. Yeah, volume was insane on this one, but again, it broke past its 3 deviation. This is something that I could easily see once it starts breaking up above the 3 deviation. It wants to come back down to the average, which is around the 21 EMA or the 34 EMA, depending on what you're looking at, which is currently here around that like $9.84. Just to know the volume, hood as well. Hood, Robinhood. I don't know if I'm gonna get the best data from Robinhood because hasn't been around too much. With Hood, the daily chart's not looking too pretty, but again, your question's not boring. I'm just kind of tired. This is something to be. It's a newer stock. It's an IPO stock. It's only had 1 quarter. It's a lot of the news for a lot of negativity, which is whatever. We need to kind of look at this like a 4-hour chart here, and it still doesn't tell you the best like parameters, to be quite honest. It is finding some level of support here potentially at that low here around $42 to $40, but I'm not seeing too much excitement going on here, to be quite honest with you. But it's Hood, and anything can happen, right? Like literally anything can happen. The apes can come out and completely alter this one without a doubt. But I'm not seeing anything predominant here, to be quite honest with you, Johnny. I have SPY at 460 by the end of the week. Eek. You think that SPY's gonna hit 460? It can. I'm not saying it can't. I don't want to be the negative Nancy to say that. I don't know, right? I can't tell the future. If I could tell the future, I would tell all you folks that have been paying attention and liking the video about this, but I don't. So the expected move, what I have to come down to, and you know how we do this, Johnny, is looking at the weekly expirations. It's gonna be the monthly expirations for September, which is basically a potential move of $11.79. Let's just call it $12 because we're all friends here. That could potentially, that's only gonna be putting at, again, that doesn't mean it's gonna have to happen, right? It's a $12 plus or minus here. So $11 or $12 to this would be around that 457 ish range. That's gonna be the level we potentially could see in the market there. But that, again, that's just like the bell curve of the basic statistics about it on how the options market look at it. But 460, if this gets any kind of bounce here, Johnny, coming in tomorrow, which currently the market's a little bit bouncy here, that could ratchet up those calls prices really fast for you. You're welcome, Jerry. Also, do you ever use regeneration channels, right? Recommendation channels? Are those you talking about like trend channels? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that word right. I'm Googling right now. Sometimes, so Johnny, I use this chart right here sometimes, just sometimes, to kind of find in the short-term bounces. I don't use it as much as anymore because I don't honestly day trade or anything kind of like on that aggressive pattern here. But this is just something I have looked at before, and it is kind of coming down to that level. I'm normally will just use like ATR and deviation moves. So what is the average or the deviation from the 21 EMA over here, here, and here? And that's what I kind of more or less like than the definitely kind of like those channels or the trend, like in that sense. And then Jerry is asking for T-Doc. Ooh, talking about a rough one there, Jerry. Really not much to say on this one. Just like Kathy Wood loves it, I think, if I remember right. She's a big fan of this one. This is coming into some level of support here around 150. Basically, that 145 to 140-ish range is some level of support here to the downside. Potentially could be a nice little run higher. I don't know. I do kind of like the build-up here. It's kind of been holding steady here. We are coming in to potentially earnings again. It's going to be like sometime in mid-October here. But yeah, maybe it's worth a bet or maybe a quick trade here. But this is on the weekly chart. So if we go to the daily chart, same kind of potentially pattern kind of formulating here. Again, that 130 got down to that level here, but we're trying to build back up. But each time it kind of gets that momentum to break out, it has not gotten above that 34 or the 55 EMA to the downside. So not my favorite cup of tea there. ATER. ATR, wow. Okay, this is trying to make some kind of recovery here. And a pretty aggressive bounce here. I'm not sure what this company does, but this looks like it's crazy picking up a lot of momentum here. So that's a nice little move there without a doubt here. There's not going to be too much that I could say here on this kind of like crazy influx of volume here. We potentially could see it run up to this $13.88. That potentially could kind of cap off that move here, which is, again, that falling 144 EMA. But if it does break above that and continues to climb, hello, $20.59. But very going to be heavily relying on that continuous momentum and swing moves that we're seeing in that level there. But I kind of like that one, actually. I don't know what I'll look it up what it does. Is it a short squeeze? Dan's asking, UPST off to a good early start. What do you think of seeing? Yeah, nice little move, right? Crazy aggressive moves. Continues to climb higher. Very hard to kind of look at where it potentially could be going. Has pulled back to the 8 EMA multiple times and continues to trade higher, but it's a little bit not my favorite kind of trading or cup of tea here because it's just kind of continuously climbing here. But yeah, looks really sharp. Ike is asking for Etsy. Yeah, Etsy, of course, was a market banger last year. Kind of coming some chop this year. Seeing some very aggressive pullbacks and then kind of swing back higher here. Initially looking for some support to the downside around 210 to 204. It's a pretty large range, but the 204 is going to be the little bit stronger side there, Ike. And then looking to potentially try to break above 225 to 226 to the upside. Again, we're going to be highlighting these levels over here on the previous kind of double tops that we could potentially call it here. If we do see enough momentum to kind of break through here and maybe get that stock higher prices there. Do you ever trade VXX? It sure seems to me to have bottom, but I think confirm basis what you think. Chris, honestly, VXX, those these volatility indexes are not really made to invest in. They're more for like trading vehicles, and you have to get your timing so flippin' right. If you're right or if you're wrong by like a week or 2 days or whatever, it just eats your cash, especially if you eat your calls. And that's not a fun thing to trade on that front. So I actually don't really trade it on that note because it's a tool in your shed. It's an ETF in your shed if you want to try to play a volatility influx in SPY or the Nasdaq. Not my favorite cup of tea. It's gonna be continuously always trending lower here. So you have to understand that it's gonna continuously always trend lower here. There is no real bottoming because they just kind of rebalance it and just put it back in the market at $25 or $20 a share. Because we look at the max here. This is something that we could look at there. So we look at UVXY, same kind of thing. Oh no, is it UVZ? I always forget these. I don't know, but they're all these kind of the things kind of come with there. If you want to look strictly at the VIX, this is again, this is on a monthly chart. Sorry, this is crazy. Definitely the VIX is kind of slowly kind of trending lower here, and we have not seen much volatility, honestly, the last couple of months. Could it break out? Who knows, right? I do think in some case that we could see somewhat of a potential short-term pullback, but I don't know anything, right? I'm just looking at statistics. Joe's asking, what do you look at the daily and weekly chart? I look at both. Daily chart for more trades within weeks to months, mostly in the weekly, like weeks trade, and then the weekly chart I look for like longer term plays. Johnny says, what do you think at max pain for options, which is the price of the underlying does most damage to option holders? I know the stock determines the options price, but it seems like MM's always pushing to max pain. Yeah, so it depends, Johnny, on if you're buying these calls or puts on how far they are in the money, and it really comes down to theta decay. If you're buying straight calls and puts, it all comes down to theta decay most likely. So if you're buying options 21 days out, theta decay is going to be just killing you if you're buying them. The charts are just disgusting. The stock literally has to move in a very short period of time, and it has to move aggressively for you to able to capitalize on some kind of that market move here, and just seeing how that plays out. The market makers, is that what you stand for, MM? And the thing is as well, like, I don't know how aggressive you are with your trading plan. I'm pretty aggressive on trying to take paper cuts in my stocks and my options. When you're down pretty significant of like 15 to 20% of the options price, I usually cut it, honestly. I want to be very mindful about my paper cuts in the market. I don't want to take any large losses, which I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it hasn't happened in a while because I just rather will take paper cuts and rather than just taking a large uh, uh, cleaver and cutting my arm or my leg off. And I want to be preserving my capital. And that's what, honestly, I do a lot more selling a premium rather than just buying straight calls. 6 a.m. come early for 7 a.m. trading. Much love, great show, man. Right, man. Thanks for the honest, bro. You're welcome, Dan. Guys, if you guys had any more tickers, please put it in the chat here. I'll do a couple more. We'll go through those. But if not, I'm gonna be calling it an evening, and we'll just kind of be going from there. And we'll see you guys next week or this coming week. I guess it is the following week. And going through there. But again, if you want to join the Discord, completely, absolutely fun, free, whatever you want to do. I'm always in there quite often here talking with the other folks within the channel, discussing. I just got something stuck on my shirt here. What the hell? But on that front, but yeah, it's definitely gonna be an interesting week. We'll see how this one plays out. We are coming into some previous levels of support here on the 34 EMA. If we do see a break lower here, we'll see on how that one definitely does play out. But again, ladies, gentlemen, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for coming out, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.